This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Hey everybody, welcome once again to this episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. And I've got a special treat for you today. I've got Tina Buneta, who is the director of the Aurora, Colorado 911. We've been just having a wild chat, and boy, we almost didn't have a podcast. We were having so much fun talking off the air. So we're gonna have to turn. It's too bad I wasn't recorded. That could be a special behind the scenes, but you know,
True.
That would have probably lost both of our jobs.
I feel confident we have plenty more.
I feel very confident that we could do off the cuff.
We sure could.
So we're both in agreement that the reason that we're not in jail is because YouTube didn't exist when we started in this business.
That is a true story.
So Tina, welcome to the podcast. What brought you in front of me on my computer screen today? Why are you here?
You know, I'm here because it took me 23 years, but I finally had the courage to fulfill my bucket list destiny of becoming an emergency number professional. So I overthought it for a long time. The perfectionist in me thought, until I know that I could get every single answer correct, what business do I have taking this course? I rescheduled myself twice prior to taking this test because of that overthinking. And the truth is, we learn so much along the way that I realized most of it I already knew it. There's a lot I have to learn, and it was exciting to go through the study groups because it gave me that opportunity to identify the areas I wanted to continue growing. But to get that preliminary pass, I really can't think of a more exciting feeling in the world, besides, maybe getting married or becoming a mother. It was really a pinnacle moment for me. And, my thought on it is, it's never too late, anybody. You're never too old. You're never too far into your career to take this, to take the test, to prepare for it, and show yourself how knowledgeable and smart you've become over the course of your career. There's so much to know in the 911 profession.
Holy crap. Well, thanks for coming in today. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, all right. Peace out.
Thanks, boy. You just saved me 45 minutes teasing that all out of you.
I really wanted to get back to stories about some of our shenanigans. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
None. Well, we can talk about it, but we both know that there's no proof of any of it.
That's right. Yeah. There is no evidence that any of that ever occurred, which
That's
I think
right.
is the best. But
right, Polaroid pictures wouldn't even last this long, I don't think. Wouldn't they fade out by now? I mean, I feel like
might, it's like,
I feel like we're in the safe.
Shake it. You got to shake the picture. Yeah. That's right. So how long have you been in this industry?
23 years. My 24th anniversary will be November 21st of this year.
Wow.
24 years.
And you remember, we were talking, you remember your first day?
Like it was yesterday. It was Thanksgiving. It was the Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh, wow.
And
did you get the how do I cook a turkey call?
No, I didn't take a call like that. So my first center was really a traffic safety communication center. Did not begin in 911, but it was for the Colorado State Patrol, so state police agency, and it was very different back then. So I remember it was a Sunday, football was playing, and it was on the TV. And my CTO met me at the door at the entrance of the building and brought me in. It was the first time I'd laid eyes on the inside of a communication center. And so the first thing I remembered was how pitch black it was. There were no lights on in this center. And I was amazed by all of the monitors. And, I thought, what have I got myself into? But by the end of that day, I'd thrown out a few radio transmissions, and I knew that this was going to be something that was going to be a rewarding, long-lasting career, and it has been. It's met and exceeded all of my expectations.
I always say that when you sit down and you put the headset on and you take your first call, within 15 minutes, you know if you've made the best decision in your life or the biggest mistake.
That's right.
And if it's meant for you, you're like, oh my God, give me more.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So
that's exactly what happened.
It's unfortunate that a lot of outside events really downplay that and affect our telecommunicators.
Yes.
It's just, right on down to, the pay levels, the respect from the public, the bashing that you get for mistakes that you've made.
Right.
Okay. You know what?
Yeah, definitely it's a high pressure job. And I think the key is figuring out how to maintain your resilience. Making sure that you don't let the weight of everything pull you under the water, or at least not for a long time. Sometimes we take in a little water as we're going, but making sure that we're utilizing a support network and that we don't try to handle things alone. That's been quite a journey. We've come a long way. I think about some of the earlier calls I took that were pretty traumatic, and the idea that we didn't have critical incident debriefing in place. In the beginning of my career, it was sort of the suck it up buttercup mentality.
Yeah, suck it up buttercup, exactly.
And
so so the elephant in the room is you're out in Aurora, Colorado, and Aurora over the past couple of years is, I don't know if you noticed, but you've been in the news a couple of times.
Once or twice.
What's it like having to deal with that over and over again? How do you manage that?
So 2020 was really the pinnacle of the challenge for our team. And as a leader, it really compelled me to start taking action to kind of protect, preserve, and support my team. We'll talk about 2020 a bit. So we had a number of civil unrest events in the city of Aurora related to community anger over some things that had happened with the police department. And at the time, we were a part of the police department organizational structure. One day in particular, August 5th of 2020, there was an event that took place, and the problem really was that the presence of social media was pivotal in what occurred with us. We had activist type of people who had very, very large followership on social media, and as a matter of protest, started directing their following, which was in the millions, to call our non-emergency line. And on that single day, we fielded a week's worth of call volume in 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
All hands on deck. All of our peripheral office lines were ringing nonstop. So my office line was ringing. Everyone's office line was ringing, in addition to the calls coming in to the non-emergency line. And it completely overwhelmed our center. I will never, for the rest of my life, I will never forget walking through the room to check on the members of my team, and just seeing that look of shell shock, disbelief, grief, frustration on their faces, and feeling completely powerless in that moment. Like, I
Right.
can't stop this tsunami wave, but how can we keep ourselves from being taken with it? And it was very difficult for them, for people who are not sworn. They're civilians. The people who come into 911 are not coming into 911 because some of them do, but not all of them aspire to become law enforcement. Some are happy to be where they are, and I'm thankful for that, because that's me. But then philosophically, right? So the reasons for the civil unrest and personal feelings about what was happening in our community was also weighing heavily on the members of our team. And so friction, like trying to manage and lead people through the friction that was happening interpersonally on our team, in the midst of that continual barrage of hate, vitriol, threats. We had quite a bit of media coverage about those calls, and so we were able to share excerpts of the audio, and a lot of it was deeply, deeply disturbing, and the things that were happening. So wellness and resiliency, and just being able to step back and take a breath, it was the only thing I could think about as the leader of the team. How do I help my team through this? How do I keep us intact? How do I keep us healthy? How do I keep us committed and still feeling passionate about our desire to serve our community and to partner with our field responders and support them, because they were also going through the same thing. And so, how much do you have in your cup to pour out, or to
Yeah.
give to, in all the directions you want to give your love and support and camaraderie, and your, just that that unified presence. But we were also in the middle of a pandemic, so our families had financial worries, and we couldn't, I had people who couldn't find daycare for their children, or it was just things that would have never been an issue 6 months prior. Suddenly, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we were on the bottom rung, and holding on. It was a very difficult year, but what came of it was a bit of an epiphany and an understanding that opened the door for us to realize that it was time for us to reintroduce ourselves and to reintroduce the role of 911 to our community, and really take opportunities to let our community get to know us as people, as humans, as members of the community as well. Like, we live here, we care about our community, and we're serving our community. And so for the last year and a half, we have been working on that. So January 1st of 2021, we became an independent department. We still are close partners with Aurora Police Department. We are close partners with Aurora Fire Rescue and with Falck Ambulance Service. We understand that we are a separate and equal spoke in the wheel, and that we have to do our part to keep the wheel turning, so that we can protect and respond to the needs of our community, to meet them where they are. But we had to take a step back, and we had to regroup, because the direction we were headed in that year was deeply concerning for me. I knew that it was untenable. We couldn't sustain at that temperature, that volume, or that pace for much longer. So that's really our story of 2020. And we're still in that transitional state. We're still establishing our relationships. We are reimagining who we are, redefining our mission, our vision, our strategic goals, and developing them so that we're accountable to what we provide our community, but also being very intentional on recognition and awarding life-saving efforts of our people, and making sure that as leaders, we're elevating the important work done by the members of our team every day, and that it's not just a job. Like, they're the lifeline. They are the link between life and death, order and chaos. And that is a tremendous responsibility to have, but a tremendous honor, because they do it every day. They make that difference every day. And I never want them to take for granted the importance of the role that they serve in our community. And I never want our community to take for granted the personal sacrifice and dedication that it takes for 911 professionals to show up every day and give everyone their best from call to call. So you have an emergency, and then you have a cat in a tree, and you shift gears and you give great service every time. It's been a wild ride the last couple of years, but I wouldn't be anywhere else, and I couldn't imagine doing this with a different team. I'm incredibly proud of the people on our team, and I'm having a great time now at this time of my career, just figuring out how to serve them and how to help them get to the next step in their careers.
Boy, I tell you, Tina, you must be a horrible boss to work for. My God.
I'm pretty, I can be I'm useful.
Wow, that was probably the most inspirational dialogue I've ever heard from anybody in this industry. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. I think, that's Christy Williams, who's I consider a good close friend. She talks about servant leadership. And my gosh, if you don't know her or hook up with her, you need to.
I'm writing her name down.
Yep, Christy Williams. She's down in Texas. So you're going to Louisville, right?
I am. I am so excited. I am so excited to people again. We took a little break, right? We took a hiatus, but I have to be very honest and tell you, like, I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. I'm just that person. And the last couple of years have been extremely challenging for huggers such as myself. Yep. So any opportunity I get to just be face to face with my friends and colleagues, and just connect and share our experiences and grow, I've been looking forward to this all year. It's going to be the pinnacle of the year. Super excited.
No, I'm definitely excited as well. I mean, it's been so long since I've seen so many people, and I'm this is great because this allows you and I to get to know each other and actually expel a little knowledge and inspiration and whatever you get out of this, out into the world. And I love social media for those purposes. I hate the negative side of social media. And how it's abused, but I like to take advantage of this side of social media and actually do some good with it. But as I get back to the conferences, I'm like, damn, I miss peopling.
Yes. I really do. Just, there's something about it. And honestly, in our profession, right, the 911 world is a small world. How quickly you can connect with people from coast to coast and establish relationships. I'm not sure. I'm sure there are other industries that.
But the reason for the relationships, so within 5 minutes, you and I found that two separate parts of the country, we never even come close to meeting, but we had the same identical experiences through our career, right? It just, things evolve like that. And that forms this bond. Got somebody's talking to us right now. Oh, you guys have been friends for years now. I met you about 25 minutes ago.
We're all just friends that we haven't met yet, right? We just haven't met each other, but we're already friends. I mean, we have to approach the world that way.
No, I agree. So what have you gotten out of the ENP program? How has that taken your seasoned career and made it better at another facet that allowed you to expand your wide base of knowledge.
So not only did it confirm what I knew, but it illuminated for me in my growth areas. And so I never want to become that leader who says, like, we've arrived, it's good the way it is, don't change anything, because I recognize that the world is changing, technology is changing, and even the way that we do our job is going to, it's already changing, but will change exponentially in the next several years. I think that the experience of a public safety communications professional is going to look nothing like what it looks like today. And I want to make sure that I'm ready, that I can understand and wrap my head around exactly what's happening around us, so that I can then prepare my team and ensure that they're ready for what's happening. Because we can't stand still. That's not an option. It just isn't. And studying that, particularly, changes in telephony and legislation, and as we get into next gen 911 and the implications for how that changes the experience of the telecommunicator, the 911 professional, and how we are receiving information and then disseminating it. That process looks different. And we become analysts. We become, like, we're the pit crew. But we are not just the funnel in which information comes in, goes out.
Mm-hmm.
We will have to understand and analyze it. So for me, it was invigorating, because it has helped me to start developing my own continued professional development plan that includes all the things that are forward thinking, so that I can figure out strategically how to introduce them in a way that is responsible and sets our people up for success as it rolls out. So, we're doing a lot of innovative things in Aurora. Currently we have an alternative response model that's in a pilot. Well, it's just concluded its pilot program. So our program sort of models Denver's STAR program, and it's a lot like Eugene, Oregon's CAHOOTS program, if you're familiar with those. But we've implemented that, and we're building on it. We are about to launch a nurse triage program for our low acuity medical calls, just to help with, kind of taking the workload off of EMS for low acuity calls and helping people connect to resources and meeting them where they are. So that's happening in Aurora, and that's really exciting. But there's more coming, and this will not slow down. It also helped me to gave me some reassurance that from the management side, from a human resources side, I might actually know what I'm doing. So that was exciting. Every day you always ask yourself, like, am I doing this right? So that side of it was very validating. I think for new leaders or people who aspire to become, whether you aspire to become official leaders in 911 organizational structures, or if you want to go into private sector and serve 911 that way, I think having this foundational knowledge is essential. Understanding not just the protocol of answering a call and creating a call in CAD and dispatching a field responder, but how the call got to you in the first place, and being able to troubleshoot and have an idea of the systems, the many systems involved that support this entire public safety process. I mean, if you step back and really look at it, you're like, wowza, this is overwhelming. But the ENP program allowed me to break it down into parts, and in digestible pieces of information I could understand, especially participating in the study groups. That was probably the most important and helpful part of this entire process, were the study groups. So for anyone aspiring, get connected with a study group like today. Do it today. Even if you don't want to take the test for a year, start engaging. You can take more than one study group. You can, but take the time to wrap your head around all of this very important information.
And the study groups are free. I mean, why
Yes.
would you not? And I've talked to people and said, well, you know what? I took this one and I took this one and I took this one twice. And I'm like, why not? You know what? Take it 5 times if
Yes.
whatever. It's a free resource. What do you buy a dictionary and only look? Well, I already looked that word up. I can't look it up again. No, of course you can, right?
If you just buy the study guide and you and you just try to read, because that was what I did the first time I got the book, and I just start paging through it, and I wanted to set it on fire about an hour into it, because it's too much. But the study groups really help to break it down in a very relatable way, with people who know what they're talking about, just giving us the information in our language so that we can
Right.
make quick sense of it. It was incredibly helpful. And I've done a number of study groups. This last go around, I partnered up with Mission Critical Partners in Louisa Lake in that study group. And then I also partnered up with Tracy Eldridge, with On Scene First and that study group this last time, and they were both different. Like the vibe was a little different in each of them, but
Totally different.
it hit, the information hit me in exactly the way I needed it to. So I needed that diversity so that it helped me to retain a lot of information.
No, I know Tracy very well. I know Louisa very well. Very, very different teaching styles, a different presentation of the material. It's you could almost say it's 2 separate classes
Yes.
about different things, but it's about the same thing, but it's really about different angles. And I think, taking multiple sessions gives you that better view, if you will, of a rounded picture. And if I know it's a time commitment, right? But geez, a lot of this stuff is online and it's available on your time, right? So you don't have to sit every Monday night at 7:30 or whatever the schedule is. But let me ask you a question. Since you're kind of a technology focused leader, when do you think there's too much information coming into 911? Is it never?
Well, yes, possibly. I think that it's just because it's available doesn't necessarily mean that we should embrace it or that we should just jump on it because it's the newest shiny thing. So, from my perspective, I would say that anything that you're thinking about bringing in has to be very intentionally considered against what your current state is, and then what other changes are occurring with your team so that you're not just drowning them with a fire hose of new technology. I've seen many organizations just kind of fall victim to that, and it's unfortunate when that happens. One of the things I have really been considering is as we, bring in the idea of visual imagery and through NextGen, now that we're on EZINet, is making sure that whatever platform we land with allows my call takers to minimize the visual imagery if it's not something that they want to see, and giving them a sense of control over that so that we're not force feeding visual trauma, but also giving our individual, just giving the members of our team a sense of control over, how they want to digest it. I personally think, just this is my own theory, but I actually think the introduction of visual imagery will I think it will be less invasive into our thoughts than the mental imagery that we create for ourselves in the absence of visual imagery. So I'm looking forward to it. I actually think it might be empowering for us to be able to see things.
So I was over in Milan, Italy, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And 112 is the national European emergency number. And when you dial 112, you go to a center that basically determines law or fire medical. And if you go to fire medical, or if you go to medical, I should say, you get transferred over to the medical PSAP, which is actually at the large area hospital. And when you get into that environment, you're first answered by an ingress call taker that has this display that I brought up on their screen. And what this is a map of the city, for geospatial reference. But over on the right-hand side, what these numbers all are bed counts at the hospitals, wait times in the ER, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't remember. This is the intake call taker.
Mm-hmm.
And what this person decides to do is determine what services are going to be assigned to you. This medical unit, this ambulance, these paramedics, and a preliminary decision based on intake of what the condition is. I think it will send you probably to this hospital.
Mm-hmm.
May not be the closest, but it's the one that's got the best wait times for where you fall in the world of EMS, right?
Wow.
And monitoring this as a supervisor are registered nurses, guiding their medical decisions. And then beyond this, there's another group that actually does the dispatch of the units. And in there's another group of nurses that are monitoring the call cradle to death, basically.
Wow.
And part of the response team, if the protocol triggers it, so they've got the first responders are medical doctors in these little cool Subarus because they're little and they can get through traffic. And then you've got the paramedics in typically a van. And then you've got the ambulances, which are built for transport. And you might use one, some, or none of all of that, right? Or all of it. And
that's pretty cool. I mean, you're scaling it right there. That's
exactly where I was going, Tina. You're scaling it at the EMS dispatch. So this person right here is making a judgment call under supervision, medical supervision. You know what? I think I'm going to need this, and this. But I'm definitely sending a doctor and a paramedic. Pretty wild.
That's fascinating.
Now, from a cost perspective, I don't know how that plays out. But boy, I'm telling you, from an efficiency and a life-saving perspective, I walked out of there going, "Oh my God!"
I mean, it's really like they already have. It's like they already have alternative response. They already have what we're starting to implement here. Like they already have that in place now. We have a little catching up to do.
Sure. In a way, yeah, you do. I mean, I love this. I love that trip because I learned so much about alternative response and having doctors as first responders. And there's a volunteer group of doctors on freaking motorcycles.
Wow.
To get through the city quickly.
Wow. That is fascinating. Volunteer. See, I'm going to have to reach out to my travel agent. I think I'm going to have to justify a trip.
Well,
it's an expedition of knowledge seeking, but that is amazing. And I want to hear more about that trip or just, like we need to talk more about this one offline for sure.
So I'm sitting, it's funny because I'm sitting in the center, in the 112 center in Milan. And I'm on a headset, doing a sit along with the call taker. And I don't speak Italian. The first call comes in, boop, dot comes up on the map. He's jammering away. It's obviously somebody who is hurt. I think they were hit by a car or something on a mobile phone. And then I hear McDonald's. And there's a McDonald's on the map. The call taker is asking him, "Are you near the McDonald's?" And I'm going, oh my God, you guys have the exact same problem with cellular location that the rest of the
Where are
world
you?
has.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's basically what the call got translated.
Yeah.
Help, I need an ambulance. Where are you? I have no idea. I'm somewhere on such and such street. Can you see the McDonald's? Yes. Okay.
Isn't
And
that
I just started
crazy?
laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And
Wow.
of course, the Italians are like, why are you laughing at somebody being hurt? I'm not laughing at them being hurt. I'm laughing at worldwide problems, no matter where you
Yes.
are. Right?
Yes.
This says
Yep.
something here.
Mhm. Yep.
Cellular location doesn't work.
Mhm.
People
I
don't
tell
know
you what,
where
we
they're at.
are excited in Aurora because we are we are just now. AT&T announced the introduction of location-based routing for emergency calls, and so now we're engaging the other carriers in the city to enact that because they're still, they're still using tower-based routing
Sure.
and sector routing. So, again, we have a long way to go. But
Oh, yeah.
at least it's nice to see us at least moving in the correct general direction. But until the day occurs where our location is as instant and as instant and accurate and accessible as Google being able to tell you exactly where you are in the flow of traffic, that disparity is it's absolutely killing us, and frankly, it's killing people. And we have to prioritize this function. And to know
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
problem all over the world gives me just like a slight bit of a little bit of comfort, like as in misery loves company. But truly, that is an issue because that expectation of our community is that we know exactly where they are when they call. And
Yeah.
thank
And
goodness for platforms like Rapid SOS, right? Like, thank goodness for platforms that can help us to triangulate someone's location. And I will tell you, I'm going to brag on my people for a moment. And I also blew Rapid SOS's mind in a conversation last month. But we are now using Rapid SOS as a part of our address verification process. So
oh, wow.
if they tell us a location, we are instantly using Rapid SOS. And if those two mesh, we're not asking our caller to repeat their location. We're moving on. So trying to leverage technology to make ourselves more efficient. But my team has one of the most highest percentage rates of utilizing the Rapid SOS portal for location. And I'm incredibly proud of them because they understand that saves seconds and seconds save lives. So
A tiny little tear just came out of Michael Martin's eye when you said that. So, and here's the other thing, Tina. When our citizens go overseas and sexy Italian doctors show up in a cool little emergency response vehicle like this, they're like, "Why can't I get this in the States?"
Right? It's a Beamer. That's a Beamer.
Yes, it is a Beamer. Oh yes, we drive the Beamers to the emergencies.
Molto bene.
Molto bene. Hey. I mean, and people wonder, they're like, yeah, why don't I get this in the great United States? But
Right.
yeah, I could show you wonderful. I mean, now that I got you and you're all interested, I haven't looked at these pictures in years. I mean, look at this thing. This is a sexy vehicle to go to work in, right? That's who you want to look up. AREU. Azienda Regionale Emergencia Urgenza.
Hey, here it is. I'm gonna show off the one thing I can say in Italian.
Go ahead.
Studio l'italiano per 2 anni in il liceo.
What does that mean?
I studied Italian for 2 years in high school.
This is the medic vehicle. If you need paramedics, even they get a cool vehicle.
So the 118, is that the medical emergency number? Is that okay?
Yeah. So 112 is general emergency for whatever. But if you know you need medical and you want specifically medical, you can dial 118 and go direct. And then these are the guys that show up. So all the women know the emergency number. Like, yeah, baby, I'm not feeling well. Send Lucenzo.
I have heart palpitations and I just don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. But this is what you're fighting overseas, right?
Wow.
How do you compete against that? I'm a dude, but those are good looking guys.
They're yes. I mean,
Except for that one. That one,
see,
that's just
I
to prove I was there.
Fletch, I think you blend right in. You blend
Yeah.
right in.
One of these things is not like the other. Okay. Goodness gracious. We're getting into the pre-podcast stuff now.
That was great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so I haven't looked at the
I'm seriously going to contact my travel agent.
I still know very many people over there. I'm in contact with folks. If you do go over, if anybody wants to go over, I will be happy to make introductions. Their centers, they are nothing like our centers. You would walk in there and you would think you're in an Amazon call center.
No kidding.
It's not like this big technology thing. It's the technology that they need to deal with what their decision is. And
Their
that,
function. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's to assess the call, triage, and get it over to that 118 center.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all the cool technology to deal
The
with the
idea of
incident.
having separate numbers. How did I not know this before? But wow, that's fascinating. And
Well,
talk about a time saver, right? If you can if you know what you need and you can hone in from the dial, I
but
don't
it's
know. That's
important to have that
cool.
universal number as well, right?
True.
So
That's
they've got a problem, and 112 is recent.
mm-hmm.
So they really go on this big advertising thing because it's like, oh, I know the ambulance number, but something's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And now you create a disparity because you've reached a sub agency. You got to go back to the middle to get to the right because the ambulance over here doesn't know what fire district
Right.
you're in. That could be different.
True.
So it's all got to go back to the 112 center and then get redispersed.
Mm.
So it's efficient if hey, my arm is cut off. I don't need the fire department except to clean up the blood.
They are the evidence eradication unit.
Yeah. That's pretty good. You're funny.
Oh, I got that one from my husband. That he gets credit for that. But that's usually what he would call. That was usually what he would refer to when he was talking about the volunteer fire department.
Evidence eradication. That's great. You're funny.
You know what?
Where
I am
have
the
you
result
been
of
all
the
my
company.
life?
Where have you been all my life?
My
Jeez.
God. It's that guy you married with a gun that's been keeping me away.
Well, there's nothing stopping us now.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's go out and let's go take over the world. We got this.
We're gonna go turn Louisville on its head.
Yes, people would just listen to us. We'd solve all the problems, right?
That's right.
Just listen
to us. And as soon as we got out of jail, we would enact on some of that.
Yeah, this time though, someone would live stream it. It's not the 80s, it's not the 90s. We're out of that comfort
would have this, somebody would be like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this.
Yeah, right. And then, something would happen and we'd end up hurting ourselves. And then nobody would call an ambulance because everyone would be live streaming us because whatever we did was so ridiculous. Like,
absolutely.
I see how this would play out.
At least you're a realist, Tina.
I know that I'm not going to live forever. So I just hope that, when the day comes, it's not just on the other side of a live stream. I'm like, ugh.
So there's one thing you need to know about me. I lie like a rug. I know I made a promise to you.
Oh.
Why do they call you Beanie?
Oh. I am not really sure the whole story that went behind this, but there was a trooper that he's now a retired major, because I'm older than dirt, but he was a young, I called him Trout Trooper. He was a young Parks Ranger, and it was before he went to the CSB Academy.
Trout Trooper.
Trout Trooper. And yeah, I have to tell him to come back and watch this so he can hear about Trout Trooper. But he started it. And the best understanding I can get of it is when he has a sister also named Tina. I'm just Tina. I think her name was maybe Christina, but he couldn't say her name when he was growing up. And so he could only say Bean. And then Bean turned into Beanie. So then when we got to know each other, and, obviously my name is Tina, it just happened. He was like, well,
you needed a differentiator.
And it just it happened. And then everyone else like picked up on it. And then pretty soon it was just a thing. And I got to tell you though, it touched my heart because up until then, I never really had a nickname before. So, I mean, that's how I knew that like I was part of the family at that point.
Yeah.
Just getting the nickname was everything, but it took on a life of its own. And then, people added on to it. So there was I can't believe I'm actually saying this on a podcast. Julie, if you're watching, this one's for you, but she twisted it into Teeny Beanie Ballerini. And then from there was another friend of mine, Gina. It turned into Tina Beans. So it just many iterations. And for my friends in Aurora, be kind to me. I realize this is probably new information for you, but please be gentle.
Tina, look right above your head, and what does that say? True confessions.
True confessions. Well, here it is. You're not getting all my confessions, but there's one you get today.
Yeah, I have a pretty darn good feeling there's a lot that's in behind.
You know what? We had a lot of fun. It was ethical, right? So let me just preface by saying, we were ethical. We had integrity.
Oh, you're so full of it.
Always.
It was on the verge of ethical.
Always. But we were great at pushing the envelope, and we were great at pushing each other's buttons. And that really was, that was the best part of working as a team, was figuring out everyone's Achilles heels and then exploiting
them. So don't you
them.
think that's a stress reliever, though?
Absolutely.
And you know what? I'm going to take a stance. I think all this political correctness and this and that, okay, I understand. I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but pushing buttons is what it's all about. That's how I was brought up. And that's it. To me, it's not maliciously breaking your chops. It's a show of affection.
Yes, I agree.
That I care enough to think that hard how to get under your skin.
Yes. Well, the thing that partners with it, that makes it okay, is the fact that, yes, right? Like, we hazed each other, we pranked each other, we set each other up for, to embarrass ourselves. We did all of those things, right? Like, there was nothing like having your trainee put comments into the call they're creating, and just to see if the dispatcher aired it verbatim because it was hilarious. I'm not saying that because I actually did that. I'm just
never.
A general example.
There was no evidence.
But at the end of the day, we had each other's back. So when it mattered the most, right? When it was hitting the fan and lives depended on it, we were there for each other, and we knew that. And I think that whole process of, giving each other a hard time, and, a little bit of hazing, and a lot of pranking, but behind that was a lot of it was like love and respect and cohesion. It's all, and they're all important ingredients into having, a well-functioning team. And I noticed that in my center, right? I notice, you can tell when the ribbing and the razzing and that fun is happening. That is a team, that's a shift, who's figured out how to meld. And those teams who are engaging in that type of lighthearted behavior, I know that if the call drops and lives depend on it, that's the team I want. That's the team I want on the floor, because they're going to get it done. They're going
Yep.
to knock it out of the park, because I've just found it to be true time and time again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've told this story a couple of times, but little small town, used to always park right in front of the station. I'm in a fishbowl. I'm looking at the parking lot all night long. I got a 1979 black Roadrunner with the big mag wheels and all hot to trot. I'm 19. And there it is sitting right out in front of me. Keys are in the ignition all night. Don't leave your keys in your car. Don't leave your keys in the car. Yeah, right. Whatever. Dude, it's Sparta. What's going to happen? One morning, my car's not there. I'm getting off at 6 a.m. Oh, I guess you're going to learn how to put your car in NCIC. Oh, I guess so. It's my first week. So I go in, put my car in NCIC. We're driving home up the street 2 blocks. On the front lawn of the church is my car sitting out in the grass. Get out, go home. Don't leave your keys in the car. Right? So I go home. I'm just coming off of a 3-day night shift. So I got 4 days before I'm coming back. I'm out on one of the highways, and I go past the cop on the shoulder. I'm not really speeding that much. Only a little, but nothing major. He pulls out behind me. I see him on the radio. And he's following me for like 5-6 miles. And I look ahead, and there's another car on the shoulder in front of me. He pulls out. Now they're boxing me. And on the radio, back and forth. Like, they're both on the radio. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And the lights come on. I pull over, and they both come over with me. And I get out of your vehicle, roll your window down. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing a felony.
Did you not cancel your vehicle out of NCIC? Is that what happened? That's awesome.
Ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, holy. Awesome. Of course, I realize this. I'm like, oh my God. Now, I'm new on the job. Nobody knows me, right, in the area. And I'm like, I got a shiny thing I got to show them, which is my badge. I'm not allowed to carry, but I have my firearm with me. So I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. It was very, very tense.
Oh, I didn't have it that good, but I will tell you, as you were telling me that story, I was remembering that there are a few troopers that loved to give me my own plate. They would make up an abandoned vehicle contact on the North Interstate, and they'd say, okay, red tag this vehicle, and I'd go in to enter it into the system as a red tag. And I would run the clearance, and I'm already doing the entry, and I would see my name. Wait, what? It got me a few different times that would happen. So
again, all great, good fun, builds teamwork. It doesn't hurt anybody.
That's right.
It's got to be contained and managed, but you know what? We're all adults.
Yeah.
I would like to think so.
Well, I was impressed they thought enough about me to get my plate and actually do that, So to me, it was more like, hey, you know what? Okay, you must think I'm doing an okay job to have fun with me, right? Otherwise, you would never do that. So
you know what? The reason why we're here is we're supposed to be talking about ENPs.
Yes.
It's not Old Home Week, but this has been a great conversation. What would you recommend to people who are just getting in this business about getting their ENP? Where, you waited in your career to do it. What's your advice to the kids coming into the industry today? Should they wait? Should they do it right away?
I've been thinking about that because I've had a number of people after I received my ENP, I actually had members of my team reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in doing it. And they're in various stages of their career. And I think the jury's still out for me on when the perfect time is. I would say this, it is never too soon to start learning about those systems. Start learning now. And as a matter of fact, the conversation I'm having, with my professional development team is, how do we interject more system-based knowledge into our basic training and continuing education so that we're just introducing the information to the members of our team all the time so that they don't have to start from zero when they're ready to take their ENP. And I think if we do that, then as soon as you feel ready, and I say feel ready, but maybe just there's a lot more to ENP than just the technology, but also getting involved in learning about the management side of the house and human resources and employment law and leadership. Not only will that prepare you for the test, but it will prepare you if what you're interested in doing is growing your career into a position where you're a part of leading people. And it's never too soon to start doing that either. I think it makes you a better employee, and it prepares you to be a leader when you get the position. Back in the day, old school person here, they promoted us and gave us a pager. That was a long time ago. You give your office key and a pager, and they're like, "You're on
It was
call.
called
Good luck."
it was called a beeper back then, by the
Yeah,
way.
it was a beeper. But now I think we can be a little more intentional in actually preparing people to be ready to take on that extra responsibility. So it's never too early to start getting ready. If you're interested, start getting ready. Start attending study sessions. Start growing your knowledge. And then departments, like, give your people exposure to this information. Like, be intentional. It shouldn't have to be something that people fish out and seek out. Let's do a better job of introducing it from the beginning. That's what I've learned about this entire process.
I've had a few people say to me, saying, well, now that I got my ENP, I'm going to take this and we're going to start an internal, informal ENP preparation program using all the learning materials that Louisa Lake has out there and Tracy has out there and the Colorado folks and the Florida folks. I mean, there's a handful, at least a half a dozen or more resources that have just tons and tons of information.
Yes.
If you've got your ENP, you can teach an ENP. The book is there. Just go through the book, right? And today we're doing chapter 4.
Go through the book or not.
or not, whatever.
Nina, I think Nina is hearing our messaging that the book is it. We're ready for a revised book.
So I'm responsible for writing parts of the book. So
well, okay, Fletch, we're ready. Probably, so I just recognize some areas that were ready to be adjourned. That's it. Like some things that we've moved on from.
Okay, you know what? I lobby. Just stay on your good side, because God, I don't ever want to be on your bad side.
You know all the dark things. I don't have a bad side. All my sides are.
You know
good.
all the potential dark.
Smiling.
You don't necessarily know the dark secrets, but you know where to look.
Well, I know one story about you because you told me.
No, you don't know anything. I lie like a rug.
Okay.
We redid all the graphics in the last edition of the book. I did them myself with help from about 5 or 6 other people. And we went through, in every single year when we review the manual, I jump up and down and scream, no, it's time to pull this out. It's irrelevant information. But it's like, it's this big fight. I don't want to call it a fight. It's this big discussion about, well, it's part of our history. It's still relevant. Yes, it is. Matter of fact, it's still being used. Yes, it is. But it's totally irrelevant to the big picture. It's this big, convoluted battle of when something gets retired out of the book. I lobby for it all the time, and I'm the one that says take all this out, and there are people that say take nothing out, and hopefully somewhere in the middle, right, is the even balance. But I agree with you.
Sacred cows make the best burgers. There's a book by that title. I encourage you to read it. But
oh, that's great. Sacred cows make the best burgers.
Sacred cows make the best burgers. Hey, I'm here for you. If you need someone to help you fight, I'll join you. We'll rope a dope. It'll be great.
Well, I'll tell you, then keep an eye on openings for the NENA Institute board and join us and be part of the solution, damn it, not just part of the problem.
Don't just sit there and complain, Tina. Be a part of the solution.
Come on, what the hell's the matter with you? Damn brand new ENPs.
Who do you think you are?
Back in my day when I got my ENP, our certificates were chiseled in stone, damn it.
That's the best.
Oh, geez, I'll tell you.
Hey, I'm here for you, but thank you at least. Like, thank you for advocating for that. And I think honestly, I think that will get easier because we will have to increasingly add more and more content. So
Yes,
it'll just
absolutely.
happen. I think it'll happen organically.
So stuff I can tell you, stuff I've been arguing for years did come out in this last new edition. I think 6.1
Mm-hmm.
is the edition of the book of knowledge. But and it was stuff, it was probably time, maybe not 2 times ago, but maybe last time it was, but it came out this time. I think I probably argued for one thing in there maybe 3 times, and this time it did come out. But again, it's a
See?
balance.
Persistence pays off. Good for
It
you.
does. It does. So, but be part of the solution. Damn it. Don't just sit back there in your little Colorado town that doesn't, looking at the mountains all day. Nothing ever happens.
Just sipping on my
Coors.
coffee and
Yes.
watching sipping on my Coors and listening to John Denver and
That's it. Come on, doing whatever else the hell you do out there.
I don't do that, but it's you know what? Well, okay, I'm going to just not talk about that. But yes, there's a lot of things you can or can't do in Colorado.
Yes. I love Colorado. It's a great place. I don't know if I'd ever lived there.
I'm pretty partial to it.
I haven't been there enough to say that I would live there. I've been to Nashville enough times, and my daughter is down there. I would move to Nashville tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that's not going to last that way for too many more years.
No, there's an exodus. Like there's a migration from west to east occurring, starting with our coast, and we have felt the brunt of that for a long time. But I have been paying attention because I'm closer to retirement than I am the beginning of my career, and so we do spend a lot of time looking at real estate and just thinking about, okay, what does the next chapter look like for us? And we land on Tennessee often.
Wow.
But I'm worried. I'm worried if we don't buy something now, we will never be able to afford it when it's time. So
there's one reason not to move to the Metro Nashville area. It's Steve Martini, their 911 director.
I'm telling him you said that.
And he will laugh and go, yeah, no kidding. I would expect that. I love Steve. I knew great. Steve. Steve was just a training officer down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and came up to me. I was down there. I was working for Avaya at the time. We were down there talking about something or another, and he heard that I was in the building, and he came up to me, Mr. Fletcher, I'm taking my ENP exam next week, and I just want to let you know I've been listening to all your podcasts. He was like the biggest fanboy, and I'm like, good boy. I mean, that's nice. Let me know when you pass. And he's become over the years one of my closest friends. So I just talked to him yesterday.
Yeah, he's a great leader. He's led his department through some challenges and through some critical events, and he's done a stellar job. So again, 911 is a small world, and we get to learn a lot from each other as well. So I hold him in high regard.
No, I just interviewed yesterday one of his understudies, who's now a supervisor down at Williamson County, and right next, and we were kicking around the idea where we're going to have a Nash cast. I'm going to get all the Nashville guys together on a group podcast. But anyway,
I think that would be great. I'll tune in for that.
There you go. So, all right. Well, listen, I have overstayed my welcome here. We've gone an hour. This has been the longest. You have got to be, I say this all the time, but you have got to be one of the most interesting episodes that I have recorded out of all of these yet. This has been an absolute pleasure to meet you. And
it's been an honor for me to spend time with you.
Oh, I know that. I would expect you to say that. No, but one thing I do say to everybody, and I truly, truly do mean it, thank you for what you do. And thank you for the inspiration to your people in this industry, because without people like you, this industry will not survive. And I mean that from the very bottom of my heart. And I honestly look forward to meeting up with you down in Louisville. And, I'm going to get beat up for that. Down in Louisville. But and hopefully this will air sometime around that we're getting out of jail. So
it was great. Thank you so much for having me here. It's just been such a pleasure. And you know what? Like we talked about earlier, people are just friends we haven't met yet. So I just feel like you and I have made a cosmic connection, and this is the beginning of a a long and prosperous relationship for us. So thanks for having me.
You got it, Beanie. I'll see you later. Have a great day.
Have a great day, Fuzzy.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.